Hey, what's up? This is Brandon Simmons for BrandonSimmons.biz, and this is my weekly video blog called Bullheaded, a review of the Houston Texans news, as well as a preview of the upcoming game matchups. Well, unfortunately, there are no upcoming game matchups for the Texans. Their season is over. It ended at the Kansas City Chiefs in the divisional round. So right now, I'm just coming through to really give you my review of the Texans season. So things I want to touch on is the expectations versus the reality, highs versus the lows, and what to kind of expect for the Texans going forward into this offseason. So, with that being said, let me just kind of do this game recap real quick. So, Texans lost to the Chiefs 23-14 in the divisional round of the playoffs. Um, it was a game that you can say that, a lot of questionable calls were made, and it really kind of swayed the game. You had the phantom roughing the passer penalty. You had that one penalty on Will Anderson, where it looked like it was a roughing the passer, head to the face type of deal, but like a replay showed that it was kind of like what I'm saying, a judgment call more than anything. And so yeah, really, it was just just really just it was just a game. Like just it was some type of game, man. So that was what happened in that game. I think probably the most thing that a lot of fans don't want to admit is this 8 sacks to really just had this happen in this game. Like, mind you, I get it. We've been talking about the O line like all season and how bad they've been, and just come to a conclusion that's been a foregone conclusion. But I mean, if there wasn't 8 sacks in this game, if the team did not give up 8 sacks in this game, then I don't think that the game is as out of reach as it possibly can be. So that's just my opinion. There's other things in here that I'm kind of looking through as well. Missed extra points, missed field goals, things like that. So overall, this was a game that the Texans man, the Texans seemed like they kind of had it, but then they didn't. You know what I'm saying? So um, like, this is a young team. They'll take this and learn. Like, let me correct myself. This is a young team that's growing. You know what I'm saying? They'll take this loss, they'll learn from it, and I think they'll come back better next year. So that's all I got for that. Now, moving on to the season review. So, um, Texans had a pretty decent season. I'm not gonna do that. They had a good season. They won the division second straight year in a row, and really what it comes down to, before the season, the expectations I had, or that a lot of fans had, it was pretty high. You know what I'm saying? Texans that were coming off, year one of D'Amico Ryans winning the divisional crown, winning the AFC South on the final weekend of the year. And then just CJ Stroud getting his first playoff win in his rookie season. And then coming off a tough loss to the Baltimore Ravens in the playoffs. So a lot of people saw that this team had promise. So they took that. They went into the offseason. They made some very significant moves. If you ask me, probably had one of the better free agent runs of all the teams that were in the free agent hunt. They went and got Danico Autry from the Tennessee Titans. They went and got Daniil Hunter. Um, and that was, and the crazy part was they got Hunter, who came from the Minnesota Vikings after, what I'm saying, they decided not to resign Jonathan Gennard, who went to the Minnesota Vikings. So, kind of an unofficial trade in that aspect. Um, on the offensive side, kind of had the bigger names. They did pick up Joe Mixon, and then they also got Stephon Diggs. Um, so Stephon Diggs, considered one of the bigger, what I'm saying, one of the bigger names, probably the biggest name of all the free agent acquisitions that we picked up this year. And so a lot of people just the hopes went through the roof for the Texans. You know what I'm saying? It was like, okay, we got all this over here. You know what I'm saying? It's pretty stacked right now. Um, let's really go in here and do some business. And somewhere along the way, they got Cam Makers. I can't remember if it was during. I think it was right before the Hall of Fame game or like right before one of the preseason games, but he was here until he wasn't. But that's another thing. So yeah, before the season, the expectations they were extremely high. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you add that much talent, um, they're gonna go high. The reality was they weren't met. You know what I'm saying? So um, a lot of factors into this. A lot of losses. Obviously, losses. Those losses come from offensive line play, injuries, things like that. So the reality is, it's just that the expectations were set high, and maybe they were set a little bit too high for a team that's kind of. I will call this year two, if you will, especially under like with Stroud and Ryan's Stroud and D'Amico. This is what I'm saying year two for them for this bunch, and maybe we kind of maybe things are rushed to maybe things kind of jumped the gun just a little bit, but it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? You set expectations, that you think you can meet. And so obviously with a roster, that we put together in the off season, without anybody being hurt, this is like a roster that can compete with just about anybody in this with just about anybody. Yeah, with just about anybody in the league. Um, so yeah, so that was the reality of that. Going into the highs versus the lows. I'm going to start with the lows. Um, Obviously, the offensive line was not worth. It wasn't worth the damn this year. They. My God, it's so many. It was crazy. Y'all was there, you seen it, but it's just really hard to describe like how bad the situation for the offensive line gotten, and it seemed to kind of peaked its head around the Vikings game, and that was the game where Stroud got sacked 5 times. You know what I'm saying? They went on the road to Minnesota. He got sacked 5 times, and from there that narrative kind of started like this offensive line, they look a little. You know what I mean? A little shaky. And so things did not seem to get better. It seemed to become, I think a lot of people focused on that after that Vikings game, and things became more noticeable. One of the things that happened was they noticed Kenyon Green kept, getting beat, like just outright beat on some of these sacks or plays or whatever. And so, that eventually, I think it led to, yeah, eventually, I think it was going to lead to him getting benched, but he ended up getting hurt, unfortunately. And so, it's, I think, yeah, actually, I think they benched him one game or not, but, it was just things like that, just noticing, and even then, after the Vikings game, I talk about the 8 sacks, in the Chiefs game. Well, Stroud got sacked 8 times in the New York Jets game. You know what I'm saying? On Thursday night football, that was probably like one of their best games of the year. Unfortunately, we took the L on that. But yeah, I feel like the offensive line they definitely, obviously, was a huge problem. Um, Another thing that was also a huge problem that probably nobody really talks about, um, but me personally, I feel like it kind of ran neck and neck, was the offensive line issues, and that was the injuries. We had a lot of injuries in a lot of key places, and with injuries, every team has an injury. You know what I'm saying? There's not. I don't think there's a team in the NFL that doesn't have a injury report filled. Or at least with 2 or 3 players on there. And even then, with those 2 or 3 players, it's probably guys that are not on there that might be hurt, but just not considered hurt enough that they're in danger of missing the game. Um, and with the Texans, I don't think they had any injury report crazier than any other team. but it was the fact that they had injuries to like key players. So I mentioned Kenyon Green. He was one of the players that got hurt, but there were other offensive linemen that got hurt, so they had to shuffle that offensive line around a lot, and so that probably led to a lot of inconsistency on that end. Um, Another aspect of that, uh, Christian Harris, he was hurt before the regular season started, and he had to end up missing uh, all the way until what, week 15 or something like that. Week 15, week 16. I think he came back. Um, Either I think he came back for the Miami game actually, and then he had to play. You know what I'm saying? And he came back just in time after Shahir got suspended for that. Um, but yeah, he was hurt. Damian Pierce, he was hurt coming into the regular season, and so he got a late start. I think he had to, really fill in for Joe Mixon right after Joe Mixon got hurt. You know what I'm saying? Y'all get the what I'm saying here? Like, these are guys. These aren't just guys that are like, just resting on the bench. These are guys that are actually like in the rotation and making plays. You know what I'm saying? Their presence is like being lost. You know what I'm saying? Due to injury, they're being sidelined, and so unfortunately, probably the two biggest injuries that we suffered um, was with Stephon Diggs and with excuse me, with Stephon Diggs um, and Tank Dell. So Diggs, he got hurt a little bit early in the season, like probably close to the halfway point of the season almost. And he tore his ACL and he's out for the year, you know. And so he's expected to make a recovery and come back and be ready for next season if we keep him. That's a whole other story. Tank Dell, he suffered, a devastating knee injury. I don't even really want to reflect on or repeat on that because I was just, what I'm saying, that was just a really tough moment. But, he's expected. No, he obviously missed the rest of the regular season in addition to expected to miss all of this upcoming season. So it's like injuries just really just took a toll, and taking those two receivers out, um the offense was already having trouble with pass protection, so just taking them out and relying on the other receivers was, what I'm saying, in a challenge itself. But we made do with what we made do with, and we had to we replaced with who we replaced with, but at the same time, like, injuries, it just, like, the point is, it just wasn't the O line that caused a lot of problems. Like, I think if anything, I would probably say injuries have been like the bigger issue. But you can't really do anything with injuries as far as like um remedying it or nothing. Just just got to let them recover and just sign who you got to sign. Hell, I almost forgot Jalen Petrie got yeah, Jalen Petrie got hurt. You know what I'm saying? And so it's yeah, he got hurt and he was out. He's out for the rest of the year. So it's just an unfortunate situation. My personal low for this team actually is the holiday games. Like, like, yeah, I can talk about the O line and the injuries. That's the obvious. My personal, the holiday games. Like, we actually got our butts kicked in front of everybody that was home for the holidays, eating leftovers or exchanging gifts, buying gifts or whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying? We got throttled, man. It was ridiculous. So, um, yeah, this the holiday games, and you already know what I'm gonna say, and I don't have to talk about it no, bro. But Beyonce in front of Beyonce, bro, like, come on, dog. Be for real, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? You got Beyonce to pop out in her hometown. You know what I'm saying? She had the TSU marching band. She had all these. She's making all this history at halftime, bringing out all these black country singers that what I'm saying, like, that's been doing it for years and don't nobody know about it. And she got this and that. She got white Cadillacs and horses, and it's lit. And we do that. Her hometown team does that. It's crazy, man. Like, That's my personal that's my personal law. I don't think I'm gonna get over that one, man. Like it is what it is though. So so yeah, I'll eventually I will, but still. Anyway, moving on. Um, aside from all that, there were some actual highs in this game in this season. Um, I think for this year, a lot of Pro Bowls, a lot of Pro Bowlers, Nico Collins, Derek Stingley, just to name a few. If I'm not mistaken, I think Stingley actually um, made an All Pro team. I just want to fact check that. Been so much going on, but yeah, just the emergence of like some of this talent that we have going on. You know what I'm saying? So let me. Yeah, first team All Pro. That's what I really wanted to make sure. So yeah, um, another All Pro honor, another All Pro honor, first team All Pro for Derek Stingley. And the thing about Stingley, his profile has risen up this year, like a lot. You know what I'm saying? He's considered one of the best cornerbacks in the league by a lot of the analysts, if not the best cornerback in the league. And so I'm glad to see that for him. Glad to see that he's on our side with that. Um, another thing, the defense really stepped up. They really held it down for this team. And so I mentioned, Danielle Hunter earlier. Him and Will Anderson have been great. They've been a great pass rushing combo. Will Anderson been, he's really been coming into his own as a pass rusher. Um, I think I've once seen fans talk about, the criticisms he received for not getting enough sacks, but it seems like he's really like making that impact is like getting in addition to getting sacks but also drawing like double teams to keep him from the quarterback. So the defense has just stepped up, and you know what I'm saying, particularly the younger guys. So yeah, Anderson, yeah, he stepped up, but also Caleb Bullock, Kamari Lassiter, they really showed that they have a like a real bright future ahead of them. Bullock, you know what I'm saying? He's made some big plays, made some key interceptions. Same thing with Lassiter. Lassiter, I've seen him make like maybe a few mistakes early on in the year, but I've also seen him grow through that and become a better player. So it probably won't be long before we have a all pro duo. You know what I'm saying? In that for our cornerbacks. And so um, I really think those guys have. I think those guys have stepped up tremendously, and they're looking to do some real damage going ahead. So I really love how this young defense is like just kind of stepped up and really gives some hope for what's to come ahead. And kind of going from that to also the intangibles of this team. So yeah, I think the intangibles such as the leadership, the maturity, the resiliency of this team. I think that's what stood out to me more than anything. You had a team that didn't just say the right things; they did the right things. You know what I'm saying? And so, to me, um, I feel like with a group like that, you're gonna. I feel like, yeah, they did the right things. And I think that's going to be helpful for a team as young as this. Um, like I said, a lot of these guys, second year players, a couple of rookies in the core of this team. So, you know what I'm saying? They still kind of getting adjusted to, what I'm saying, being a professional and all that stuff. But there's also veterans in place to kind of, what I'm saying, kind of guide them. So you have a Joe Mixon who's in place to kind of guide the offensive players, you know what I'm saying? Especially, a guy like CJ Stroud and instill, more confidence in him, you know what I'm saying, that he can compete with the best of the best. You know what I'm saying? And just trying to encourage this team to overcome different obstacles that they have, um, you know what I'm saying, that they might run into. You know what I'm saying? Whether it be, regular season stuff or postseason stuff. So I definitely am, applaud Joe Mixon for doing that. And just overall, I think just this with this being a young team, um, I've seen the maturity in this team. I've seen like more hunger in their eyes, more effort and expecting more of themselves. So it's not just the expectations that the fans have; it's the expectations that they have for themselves to be better professionals, to really um, step up and feel like they can compete with veterans who've kind of been established in this league. 6, 7, 8 years in, they feel like they can hold their own with these guys, and what I'm saying, I really like that about them. The resiliency, kind of speaks to what I was saying about the maturity. Um, but yeah, this Texans team, they just seem to bounce back um, in some of the tougher times. And not all the time do they bounce back, but there's some things that they just kind of bounce back on. There were some instances, throughout the season where they would get down, but what I'm saying, they get back up in the game. What I'm saying, they go out and they get back and win the game. What I'm saying, they make their stops when they're down. Like I would probably say a good example would be the Chargers game. That wild card game. Like they Oh my God, dude, Rex Ryan loves putting his foot in his mouth, don't he? Anyway, um, but yeah, just going into that game at home, hearing all the people pick against them, and then not even that, just being down, 6-0 in the first half, and the clock is almost ticking out. For CJ to throw that ball across his body and make that play, and Xavier Hutchinson to make that catch at that moment, it sent a jolt of life through that offense. And what I'm saying, it helped them get down the field, march down the field, and actually go score a touchdown. To what I'm saying, really get the momentum back. So I definitely applaud them for the resiliency like that, for those resilient moments to really just kind of step up and just fight through things like that. Even with the Al Shahir moment. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate, I respected this team, like kind of rallying around him and really just going out and fighting. You know what I'm saying? Especially against a division rival. Because that could have, even though the Jaguars were like way out of the playoffs at that time, you could tell that that happening to their quarterback was something that they were willing to fight for. And the Texans just kind of came back and was like, we're going to meet your match on that. So I definitely respect the resiliency in that. See, going forward, we got a new offensive coordinator coming in. Yeah, so um, yeah, so Bobby Slowick, we let him go, and I mean, coordinators, they're kind of weird. It's kind of weird, like kind of tracking these guys. You know what I'm saying? They're like with offensive coordinators, it's kind of like you kind of bring it's offensive coordinators that probably can be there for like a number of years, or someone could be there for like just 1 year and gone. Sometimes it might be half a year, but that's just offense coordinators, defense coordinators, whatever. You know what I'm saying? They're usually like scapegoatish in a sense, um, and so with Bobby Slug, he had 2 years here. You know what I'm saying? First year, in fact, crazy thing is, first year, you know, with CJ Stroud, you know what I'm saying? Texans had a great year. And I think that was, kind of due to the expectations that we had for this season. The expectations, weren't that high. Yeah, we had CJ Stroud, but we don't know what this rookie quarterback's going to do. We picked him number 2 overall. Um, we don't really have no wide receivers. Nico Collins hasn't been the Nico Collins that we've seen these last couple seasons yet. And, with the running game, we don't know what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? We think Damian Pierce is going to be good, but he's not really turning out to be that way in his second year. So, with all that being said, uh, the Texans came in last season. Stroud had a great year, great rookie season. You know what I'm saying? Offensive rookie of the year. Fast forward to the second season, we built this offense up with all these weapons and everything. Joe Mixon, Stephon Diggs, we're getting Tank Dell back. We're about to go score 40 points, run people off the gym, and that has not been the case. Um, so yeah, with that, with that, things have, probably has to, be changed up a little bit. So, as of right now, they're looking at Chip Kelly. I don't know who they're going to hire at the time I'm recording this, but it could I feel like a decision might come within the next week or so. Is move inch closer to the Super Bowl, inch closer to free agency and all that other stuff. So I expect that to probably be announced, but um, definitely I'm not sure who else they would really just go and get. Chip Kelly sounds like a cool name. He's worked with Stroud before, so I think if it would make sense, then it would make sense, especially with Stroud. Since they had that familiarity. But we'll see what happens with that. Um, Free agency draft. I glanced at the free agency list just now. I don't think a lot of things are kind of settled as far as like who's gonna hit free agency, who's not. Looked like a lot of wide receivers were up for free agency. Um, so I think that might be something that they look into, considering Tank Dell is going to be down. Um, I mean, they tried to get Deontay Johnson in, and I don't know. I figured like it was really late in the season, and they just really couldn't get him into the offense the way they wanted to. And so, well, we all know that story. You know what I'm saying about him after the playoff game, and them just letting him go. So, um, but other than that, you know, I feel like I don't know if they'll make a move. If they make a move for wide receiver, I'm curious as to how elite this receiver is gonna be. Is it gonna be like some big time guy that's gonna come in as like a number two, number one, and maybe Nico and Stefan take a step back, or he's gonna be some guy that they kind of all share in the same role, or what I'm saying, or he's just gonna be some guy that kind of plays the background himself. So I'm going to be interested to see how that actually plays out. Same thing with the draft. I think last time I checked, we picked 25th overall. So somewhere in the mid 20s, late 20s, early 20s, somewhere in the 20s. So somewhere around that 25th area. So um, I, I haven't seen too much noise about the O line prospects that they have in this draft. So hopefully that'll change that's not no hopefully that's definitely going to change as what I'm saying time inches closer to that. Especially after free agencies, somebody might feel a need for that. I definitely think we should get an O lineman out of the free agency spot. Um, Somebody in left guard, and that can, and you know what I'm saying, somebody that can just hold that spot down in that position. Because, like I said, left guard was, I don't know what was wrong with it. It was, but it was wrong. So, hopefully they bring somebody in for that, and you know what I'm saying, we'll just take it from there. But I wouldn't be mad at, actually, I wouldn't be mad at somebody in the draft, but I would still definitely prefer a veteran in that left guard spot because I think that's something that needs an immediate fix as opposed to, what I'm saying, putting a rookie in that position and, what I'm saying, allowing Stroud to get hit that many times for the second straight year. So that's all I got for y'all for this season. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, it was a good season. Didn't come out the way we wanted it to with all our expectations, but it definitely was something that it's definitely something worth that I feel like the players are going to learn from, and they're going to take that and they're going to get better with. So that's all I got for y'all this week. Like I said, and this season, I'm Brandon Simmons from BrandonSimmons.biz. If you're watching this on Facebook, facebook.com/Brandon blog. Like this video, like my page, then like this video, then share this content on your news feed. If you're watching this on YouTube, like this video, click on the subscribe button, share this page on any of your social media. So, I'm Brandon Simmons from BrandonSimmons.biz. Holla black.